All right, y'all, welcome to the show. Monday, September 26th. Got a lot going on in the world today. In fact, it is impossible for me to get to every story that is popping up. So right as I'm coming on air here, we get the news that there was a recruitment military officer in Russia who was gunned down. This is because you have a population that is effectively in revolt because they don't want to go to Ukraine. They don't want to fight in a war. Putin called up 300,000 troops, and now there are some ramifications as a result of that. We also have a massive school shooting that happened in Russia with at least 10 dead. My guess is that number is going to go up and up and up. But, I mean, I'm a little concerned on that front that Putin might use this to blame Ukraine or to blame a Ukrainian sympathizer and use that for justify further escalation as a result of that. Now, that's all speculation, but I guess we'll see in the coming days. It's not a good scenario, man. We are on the brink in many respects. So I'm going to jump into the stories here in a second. I got a lot for you. So first of all, we have some results coming in from an election in Italy, and not so great. Not so great. I'll give you the details on the woman who just won the election. Her name is Giorgia Meloni. Buckle up, dog. Buckle up. And then after that, we'll talk a little bit about a war between DeSantis and Trump that is brewing, and it's just now starting to come out in the public. You got the opening shots are now being fired, and that is quite a story, and that is going to get tasty, if I don't say so myself. We have the new Republican plan called Commitment to America. I'm going to go ahead and break it down for you. I'm going to give you what they say they're running on, what it really means, and why it's, of course, a colossal disaster, and the ideas are pathetic. And then later on in the show, we'll talk about how Trump did another rally, I think it was in North Carolina, and he was sending out security to try to stop his supporters from doing the QAnon salute. So apparently Trump saw the articles about how the people at his rallies are hardcore conspiracy theorists, and he's trying to downplay their representation in his audience among his followers because, you know, he's trying, albeit in a very weak and sad way, to still have some sort of mainstream appeal, even though literally on a daily basis now, his mainstream appeal becomes less and less and less. So we got that and a lot more. Let's go ahead and jump into it here. So this is in CNN. They say Giorgia Meloni set to be Italy's most far-right prime minister since Mussolini. I have another fact on Giorgia Meloni and what she thinks about Mussolini coming up in just a second, so hang on for that. Here's what they say. Italy will be led by the most far-right government since the fascist era of Benito Mussolini, early exit polls suggest. An alliance of far-right parties led by Giorgia Meloni's Brothers of Italy party, whose origins lie in post-war fascism, were on track to win between 41 and 45% of the vote in Sunday's general election, according to data from the RAI exit pollster Piapoli. The ultra-conservative Brothers of Italy party looks likely to win between 22 and 26% of the vote, with coalition partners The League, led by Matteo Salvini, taking between 8.5 and 12.5%, Silvio Berlusconi's Forza Italia scoring between 6 and 8% of the vote. As the leader of the far-right coalition, Meloni is now set to become Italy's first female prime minister. Final results are expected early Monday. Meloni's party has seen an astronomical rise in popularity in recent years, having won just 4.5% of the vote in the last elections in 2018. This actually reminds me of what happened with Macron in France, because he had some, and this is a key difference, I guess you could say, between parliamentary systems and what we have here, but you have more parties, and what happened with Macron is he was an outsider from the establishment, even though he represents an establishment ideology. He was from a different party, a new party, and he was able to rise to power, in part because he's like, I'm not part of these parties that have been screwing you all along. Now, Macron, of course, is a centrist and a neoliberal, but he did come from outside of the traditional party structures that had power in France, and you're seeing a similar thing here. The difference is, of course, this is a far-right party that we're talking about here. Their popularity underscores Italy's long-standing rejection of mainstream politics, seen most recently with the country's support of anti-establishment parties such as the Five Star Movement and Salvini's League. Celebrating the early results on Sunday evening, Salvini said on Twitter, center-right in clear advantage both in the House and in the Senate. It will be a long night, but already now I want to say thank you. Okay, so Meloni is 45 years old. Let's go ahead and shoot on over to her biography here, because there's some interesting stuff. Giorgia Meloni is an Italian politician and journalist, a member of the Chamber of Deputies in Italy since 2006. She currently heads the Brothers of Italy political party and has been the president of the European Conservatives and Reformists Party since 2020. Born in Rome, Meloni joined the Youth Front, the youth wing of the Italian social movement, in 1992, while later she became the national leader of the Student Action, the student movement of National Alliance. She was a councillor of the province of Rome from 1998 to 2002, after which she became the president of Youth Action, the youth wing of AN. In 2008, she was appointed Minister of Youth in Berlusconi's cabinet. Now remember, Berlusconi is the comically corrupt former right-wing leader of Italy. He's known for his bunga bunga parties, where he would have these, like, he's got all this plastic surgery and wears all this makeup and stuff, and he would have these parties where it was like underage girls were there, and of course, very, very questionable things were going on. They continue, a role in which she held until 2011. In 2012, she co-founded FDI, and became its president in 2014. She took part in the 2014 European Parliament election, and in the 2016 Rome municipal election as a mayoral candidate. She ended up not getting elected in both elections. After the 2018 general election, she led the FDL into the opposition during the entire parliamentary legislature. Okay, so blah, blah, blah. Here's the stuff that matters. A right-wing populist and Italian nationalist, her political positions have been described as far-right. She is opposed to abortion, to euthanasia, that's physician-assisted suicide for people who have, like, cancer. They say, oh my god, I'm in so much pain, I don't want to live anymore, and she would say, fuck off, I'm going to force you to live. And to partnerships, marriages, and parenting by same-sex couples. Instead, supporting nuclear families. Opposed to the reception of non-European migrants and multiculturalism. She has been accused of xenophobia and Islamophobia. A supporter of NATO, she maintains Eurosceptic views regarding the European Union, and was in favor of better relations with Russia before the 2022 Russian invasion of Ukraine, which she condemned, pledging to keep sending arms to Ukraine. She has expressed controversial views, such as praising Italian fascist dictator Benito Mussolini in 1996, and Giorgio Almirante in 2020, a Nazi collaborator and co-founder of MSI. I don't know, dog. That doesn't seem too good. Wowzers. So, a Benito Mussolini praiser is now the leader of Italy. I don't think this ends well, if you ask me. So, again, what's interesting about... there are many things that are interesting about her politics, but super socially conservative. Against abortion, euthanasia, gay marriage, gay partnerships to raise kids. And she's been trying to walk this line on the European Union. So she is a Eurosceptic. She's an Italian nationalist, but she's also sort of moderated her message recently where she acts like, no, we're going to work with the European Union and, we're not going to totally go it alone. And she used to be more pro-Russia, but since the invasion of Ukraine has backed off of that rhetoric. But there are still people in her coalition who are, very pro-Russia. Now she supports Ukraine, but again, supports Ukraine and supports NATO while being skeptical of the European Union more generally. I guess you could say one of the arguments I read about her and why she won is that she sort of like copied the Marine Le Pen playbook, but moderated in some other key ways. And the speculation is that's what effectively has led for her to win. Also, you're not going to be surprised to hear this. Turns out, guys, there was left-wing infighting. I've never heard of such a thing before. The left never fights. I'm totally unfamiliar with the left ever infighting relentlessly and only tearing each other apart relentlessly as the right waltzes to victory. So, there you go. Now, this is on top of, by the way, a recent election in Sweden where the far right won there as well. So Sweden has elected the far right. Italy has elected the far right. Is the United States going to be next? Are we going to be next in these midterm elections? Is it going to be a hard swing in favor of authoritarian Republicans who model themselves after Donald Trump, who embrace Trumpism, which at this point has just become a cult of personality and has just become about him attempting to overthrow a democratic election where he lost? It's a scary thought, but it's something to seriously consider at this point in time. It really, really is. Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.